Well, AP and Swatch have just dropped their collaboration, and it is definitely not what a lot of enthusiasts thought it was going to be. They dropped a pocket watch. The internet was going mad for the last week when Audemars Piguet and Swatch were announced as doing a collab. In fact, when they even hinted at it, everyone started theorizing what it possibly could be. And now they finally dropped it, and they are dropping officially a bioceramic pocket watch or pendant style watch. And interesting thing, first of all, I found this very interesting as a collaboration because when you think about the Moon Swatch, you think about the Blancpain 50 Fathoms. When it comes to Swatch doing a collaboration with them, it kind of makes sense because they're under the Swatch group. So suddenly you've got this idea, the Moon Swatch, it's going to be a quartz watch with a very, very famous style when it comes to the Moon's watch. And you put the Omega logo on it and it went nuts. It went insane out there. People were buying it. In fact, I own a Mission to Pluto and I absolutely love that watch. In fact, I am wearing a Swatch watch right now. However, what was crazy about this collaboration when it was announced is that AP is not under the Swatch group. In fact, it's still its own independent. So that's where people were kind of going crazy. Like, is this going to cheapen the brand? It's a high luxury. It's one of the holy trinities of watches. But let's actually kind of look into this a little bit and what actually was, what is it that they actually released? And I'm curious to know what your guys' thoughts are. I would love to start a huge chain in the comments on what you guys are feeling about the latest collaboration. I'm going to talk a little bit about what I think about the latest collaboration. So here's some of the things that we know right now at this point. It is the Royal Pop. It is royal as in Royal Oak, and it's pop as in Swatch pop line or pop art inspiration. Swatch says that the collection draws from pop art with playful colors and more proactive design language. Now, of course, it still does use the Royal Oak cues and its design. You've got the octagonal bezel, the octagonal bezel, 8 hexagonal screws. It's got a, I can't even say this properly, and I apologize if I butcher this, a petite tapisserie style design. I'm terrible when it comes to French, guys, and I apologize. But it's got the vertical satin finish, sapphire crystal. Here's the thing. It's got a sapphire crystal both front and back. With the other two collaborations that they did with Omega and with Blancpain, we just had their classic, like, plastic, whatever you want to call it, crystal. This one is an actual sapphire crystal front and back. And I think probably because with the pocket watch style, there's a higher chance that this is going to be used in a lot of different ways. Think about like Labubus. People can put them onto purses. They're going to wear them around their necks. They can wear them pocket watch style. So there's going to be a lot more potential for this thing to bang around than necessarily a watch on your wrist. So that's probably why they decided to go with the sapphire crystal to add that little extra bit of scratch resistance, knowing that this is not going to be worn in a traditional sense. And of course, it's got Super Luminova on the hands and markers. Now, those are all details listed in AP's own announcement. Now, of course, it is made from bioceramic, which we have come to know from the Moon Swatch was bioceramic, the Blancpain 50 Fathoms was bioceramic, and of course, that is their claim to fame, is this plastic watch style. Now, it does have a mechanical movement. Now, unlike the other two watches that were released, obviously the Omega Moon Swatch was quartz, and so battery operated. In fact, mine actually had the battery die not too long ago. So, I went into Swatch and they swapped it out for free because they have the Energy for Life program. So I was able to take advantage of that. However, with the 50 Fathoms, they decided to go with the System 51 movement in an automatic. However, with this one, it's going to be a bit of a modified System 51 as it is only going to be hand wound, which does give it more of that true aesthetic for a pocket watch, which is pretty cool. So you're going to have a hand wound pocket watch that you wind up every day. And because it's System 51, you're going to have around that 90 hours of power reserve. Now, they did come out with two formats. They've got 6 Lapine models and 2 Savagnet models. I hope I said that right. The Lapine versions are your typical watch style look, or, that you'd get. Now, this is I almost referenced this, but this is obviously a chronograph. So the Lapine is going to have the crown placement at 12 o'clock. So at the top, like you'd expect from a pocket watch, and it's going to have hours and minutes only. And that has the most amount of the variants. You have two Savignet models that have the crown at 3 o'clock, so it's going to be on its side, and it also has a small seconds display. Now, reportedly, the Lapine is going for around $400 US, and the Savignet is going around 420 US. So in Canada, we're looking at a little over $500 for one of these watches. So a little more expensive than, let's say, the moon swatches. Obviously, though, they're quartz, so you can expect a mechanical movement to be a little more expensive. Now, of course, this can be worn multiple different ways. It's going to pop its thing into its holder, and then it's going to come with a calf skin lanyard, which can be obviously worn around the neck, carried as a pocket watch, attached to a bag, or even used as a small desk clock with its small removable stand. So it's kind of cool. And it does report itself with being about 44 millimeters wide, 8.4 millimeters thick without the holder, and 44.2 millimeters by 53.2 millimeters when mounted to the clip. And again, these were inspired by the old Swatch Pop, where you could interchange, and they're a bit more modular. Now, here's what's interesting, and here's where I think the controversy has come into place, is that, first of all, the internet went absolutely nuts when it came to this announcement. I mean, as soon as we saw the teasers where it was like click, click, and then there was pop, and people were comparing the Royal Oak logo and trying to say, oh my God, is it AP? Are they doing a collaboration? And again, that's wild because they're independently owned. In fact, this isn't the first time that Swatch and AP have actually collaborated. They have done some collaborations in the past on movements. I can't remember what the exact movement is, so you can drop it in the comment if you can remember it. But they have done some collaborations. Saying that, it still was a big deal. So the internet was a storm. And next thing you know, when they finally announced and showed AP, Audemars Piguet, X Swatch, that is when everything went crazy, because suddenly it was true. They're doing a collaboration, and the internet does what the internet does. And especially with AI now, the renderings that started coming out were insane. And in fact, some of them were pretty epic. Like, I would have loved actually to have a Bioceramic AP, because I probably won't have an AP anytime soon, because those things like start at like $35,000. So they're pretty exclusive. And that's the other argument that people were making, is that AP is kind of diminishing its exclusivity by partnering with Swatch on what everyone thought was going to be a Royal Oak. But to me, you know what? At the end of the day, I think that's just as creating fun out there. Swatch knows what they're doing when it comes to breaking the internet, and they absolutely killed it with this one, because my entire Instagram feed was just all about this Swatch X, Audemars Piguet, the Swatch Pop, everything like that. Like everything, my entire thing was taken over by it. So they know how to break the internet. Not only that, you know, they're known for creating, like, you know, the last time it was like they really revitalized what watches were. They put so many watches on people's wrists with the Moon Swatch. Again, to me, though, the 50 Fathoms didn't hit as hard, because Blancpain is one of those watch brands that if you know, you know, and obviously they've been around a long time. However, Omega is one that people know of because the moon swatch, or the moon landing, and the fact that Omega was the official one for many, many years. It's and James Bond wears Omega in the most recent renditions with from basically, I think it was Pierce Brosnan to Daniel Craig wearing Omega. So when you start thinking about how much Omega is in the pop culture, even though it's not really, that's why it was well known, and that's why it broke the internet and had people lining up for days to get these, even though it's not a limited release. Blancpain, I think, really caught a lot of the enthusiast world because they're not well known comparatively, and so I don't think it had as big of a hype. Whereas AP is well known because of its relationship to pop culture. You know, rappers wear it, athletes wear AP, you know, very wealthy business owners wear AP. People talk about AP quite a bit in the luxury sphere. They are one of the holy trinity as it is. So that's why that watch, I think, got a lot of notoriety for the release, and people were going crazy about it. And I'm curious to see, though, how these are going to sell out now that it was announced as a pocket watch. People were already starting to line up days before it actually got released what it is. Now, of course, this does get released. It's currently the 14th today as of recording, May 14th. It is going to be released on May 16th. So I am curious to see, even a week from now, if they're going to be sold out, or even I should say May 16th, if they're going to be sold out, or if I could maybe go later in the week and go buy one. So I am curious to know what your guys' thoughts are on this. Is this hyped up? Is it not gonna sell out? Are people gonna be mad? Are people gonna be excited by it? What is your thoughts on it? Also, what do you think this does for AP's brand? I personally think that this gave a huge boost to AP's brand because people are talking about AP right now. And I know there's been some negativity in the collectors and the enthusiast world about AP and some of the directions it's gone. Will this bring them back up, or will this continue to create this down? And honestly, is this actually a secret in masterclass marketing? Who knows? But that's my take on it today. I personally think it's a cool thing. I would love to go get one if I get the opportunity to. I'm not going to go mad rush out there and go try to line up and buy one. I'll give it some time to simmer down and pick one up when all the hype's done, if I do, and might enjoy it. Might start wearing a fun pocket watch with the suit. Who knows? But yeah, drop your comments below. And of course, if you want me to continue to talk more about watches, because I know it's a little different than what I normally do on this channel, let me know and subscribe. Drop your comments, and of course, like the live. Thank you guys so much for watching. And this is my day 4 of my SBI live challenge. So thanks for joining me.